Perfect. So from the Shiva Sutras, Gurur-upayah, the guru is the means. Guru is the means. Now, in our day and time, guru gets tagged to all kinds of things. There are technical gurus, and there are mechanical gurus, and there are influencer gurus, and there's all kinds of gurus. In in the Kashmir Shaivite tradition, basically what this is understood to articulate is that having the grace of this awake energy is necessary for the full awakening, for the recognition, right? So it has to come from an awake dynamic or a current of energy. So the Guru va Paramashwari Anugrahika Shaktihi. So the grace bestowing power of the Supreme Goddess is the Guru. The grace bestowing power of this high frequency of emanating, manifesting energy, right, is the Guru. But that's the great teacher. That's the great dispeller of darkness. That's what Guru means, dispeller of darkness, or a great teacher. And this Guru that's necessary for this understanding to emerge in Kashmir Shaivite cosmology, right, can show up as a human. It can show up as a dream. It can show up as a being in the dream. It might be a tree, right? It doesn't, actually, she doesn't care. It can show up as any particular emanation, right? Okay, but the guru is necessary. And so this lineage of teachers becomes really, really essential, right? It's, what is his name that talked about the wake, the great wake of the boat? Alan Watts. Alan Watts uses this example of the great beings that have awoken to this reality, right? They create this wake. They create this behind the great ship, this openness to understanding, to seeing clearly. And the more clear that recognition is by that being, the wake doesn't close. The wake doesn't close. So this is why, for example, we have had great beings that still today influence the entire culture of our species, right? So we go to the next slide.
What an interesting relationship between two words, wake and awake.
Isn't it?
Beautiful.
Yeah, I know, Alan Watts is like brilliant.
So for this, about every 5 seconds, press forward.
Yeah,
Okay.
we've got, it's a little bit of a dance here, okay? Because we like to play. All right, so this first one, this is not the first one, but this emanation, right, of the guru is one that we all probably recognize if you'll hit the play. So Gautama, the Buddha. Can you see it? And then the next one. Yeshua, or Jesus, great master of wakefulness. Okay, and the next one. Rumi, great master of wakefulness. Baal Shem Tov, in the Kabbalistic tradition.
Who was that again?
Baal Shem Tov. We can speak about him at the end if you'd like.
And Anandamayama, another great awake being, Siddha, we call them. The next one. This is just a sampling. Ramana Maharshi. Okay. And then the last one for this little sampling. One more. Here he comes. And Bhagawan Nityananda, who was the guru of Muktananda, and incredibly exquisite being. So in Naked Through the Gate, here we go. I wish we could see Joel's face. In Naked Through the Gate, Joel describes powerful teachings that he received from the Greek goddess Athena. So this emanation of the guru in Joel's experience in that phase was Athena. Okay? And this was just before he set out on his fateful journey. Right? of that final enlightenment experience. And so this is from the book, so please forgive me. I wish I had his voice. I see it, sweetheart. My attitude toward the trip as a whole was perhaps best summarized in a poem that came to me from Athena before I left. Waste no time chasing new lovers. Who can compare with my daughter, mirror of your heart? And seek no guru on your travels. Is there any more severe than me? Yeah, so the guru.
And it's a privilege and relatively rare to find an embodied guru that is in a living body and that whose field is vibrating with this awakened energy. What the word that's used in this tradition is Chaitanya, fully awake, alive and conscious. And Joel, again, we'll let Joel speak for himself, but we're just taking from his book. He describes. So he describes his first meeting with Dr. Wolf as having happened before he had his enlightened experience, when he was setting off on this journey. This is the way he described as he's driving up towards Lone Pine to meet Dr. Wolf the first time. The road dips, then everything turns miraculous. A cloud of dust and mist blows up from the foothills, obscuring the base of the mountain so that the peaks now seem to be suspended in the finest azure. I look again and the cloud is glowing with blue light and rainbow tints. But still the mountain peaks shine through with a light of their own, as clear as I've ever seen. I feel I am approaching some holy place, holy Lone Pine. And now, too, I feel Dr. Wolf's presence, as though he were summoning me, and press on into town, where every tree, every store, every person looks to my desert-dazzled eyes sacred. Now, I think that speaks for itself.
I couldn't have said it better myself.
So in our tradition, we would say Shaktipat was happening. And all he had to get was even just close into the town. And the field of energy emanating from Dr. Wolf was already generating a change. This was very much the way that I felt after my Shaktipat experience took place with Muktananda. This was in 1975. I was on a weekend retreat with him. I just met him the previous month. And there was, people were waking up, and I was certain that that's why I was there. So during a break in the meditation periods, when there was an opportunity to approach him and ask questions, I did so. And my question was, I see that people are having this kind of Shaktipat happening, and yet it hasn't happened for me. That's why I'm here. Can you do this for me? And his reply was, "You're so full of your warning that there's no room for anything else to happen." And I jumped to my feet. I surprised myself, and I said, "No, you have to give it to me. Please give it to me." And he shouted, sit down right now." And a couple of moments later, he came behind me. He placed a toe at the base of my spine, a hand on top of my head, and then he breathed into my nostrils and repeated a mantra, and an explosion of energy took place throughout my body. My body locked into lotus posture. The next 10 or 15 minutes, my body began to go through spontaneous yoga postures, scared the shit out of me, literally. I mean, I felt like I had completely lost control. My breathing shifted into this powerful movement. I was scared that I was going to die, and I was really scared, and I had no idea what was happening. And a certain moment came in which I just felt like, okay, well, I'm going to give up trying to control this. And at that moment, there was a very powerful shift that took place the energy became much more gentle, and my breath began to flow in a, a different way. And then it felt like honey was being poured into my brain. And I sank into by far the most profound, deep meditation I had ever experienced, spontaneously, effortlessly. And when I emerged from that meditation, for the next 24 hours, this description that Joel, everything I saw, every person I saw, I felt like I was in love with everything for the next 24 hours. And although that began to fade, the awakening that took place never faded. It just gone through, so many different waves, but there was never a point where that process stopped after that point.
So there's so much to absorb from the enlightened teachers. The teacher is necessary. The teacher is necessary. To be in the presence of a teacher that has recognized truth is necessary. But it's not just their overt teachings. Those help, right? Like Ramana Maharshi said, my teaching is silence. And if you don't understand that, I'll give you some words. So it's the overt teachings can be really helpful, that our mind needs something to hook onto. But it's the Shakti that's vibrating in that channel of clarity. That's the great gift of the Guru. That's the great gift. So in Kashmir Shaivism, it's understood that that's essential for this process. That it's a generational transmission, if you believe in generations. It's a transmission. It's a current of wakefulness. So just like in Jojin, there's the emphasis on Guru Yoga, right? On spending time with and being in the service to teachers of this clarity. And this really helps in the release of the grip of the ego, right? Because it's in that vibratory experience, that recognition. They're like, whoa, this is much bigger, right? Than anything I could ever imagine. So the power of the teacher. So once the awakening happens, though, there's no need to stay. There's no need to stay. So non-dual devotion orients us to the feeling of this presence. It's the feeling of the presence that we share everywhere all the time. So that's the devotion. And certainly because the human heart loves this creation, we'll continue to love the specific emanations, the specific beings, right? The beloveds, that which we're devoted to. Okay? But it's not necessary because the presence, the alive presence, is not dependent